Alrighty then. What happened with Purposeful Harbinger? GGG explains. Hi everyone. I want to take a moment to talk about a few things, but in particular the changes to Purposeful Harbinger notable that we announced a few days ago.
Yes.
If you are not in the loop, here's what happened. The Cluster Jewel system in Path of Exile Delirium introduced a bunch of notables, including one called Purposeful Harbinger. This notable grants 10% increased aura effects, increased effect of aura buffs on you for each herald affecting you. There were two issues with this notable. Firstly, it's severely numerically overpowered. Secondly, it was broken in that it affected game mechanics that it shouldn't have. Anything that was internally classified as an aura, and that's only internally, rather than just auras from skills as intended. I'm not sure it was just from auras from skills, but I mean, maybe it was. I mean, they're saying it was intended. Okay. Players quickly began to use the intended effects of Purposeful Harbinger in ways that were extremely strong. It became clear that builds centered around Purposeful Harbinger were the most powerful options in the game. The power level was so strong that people were skeptical that it would remain in the game in its original state, and some people avoided building around it because of this. At this time, a community member asked for a clarification about whether the node would be receiving any mid-league changes. We had to look at its power level and realized it was uncomfy strong. However, we are aware of how mid-league nerfs affect players' enjoyment and try to avoid doing this whenever possible. So with these things in mind, we announced that we would not be nerfing its power until the end of the league. This confirmation gave people the green light to start heavily investing in the build and go boom boom zoom zoom. Unfortunately, at this point, we did not realize the Purposeful Harbinger was also applying to a number of mechanics that it wasn't intended to. Like basically all of the stuff from Guardian, for example. And then a bunch of items giving aura-like things. When we confirmed that we were not intending to change it mid-league, we only had the numerical power in mind. Oh, so they were like literally only thinking about the 10% value? Monga mega. Monga mega. When we confirmed that we were not intending to change it mid-league, we only had blah blah blah. This was a very much our mistake. It indeed was. At the moment that we should have really worked out that something bad was going on, our company was disrupted by the government-mandated lockdown. We moved our computers home, set up all sorts of remote working stuff, and tried to adjust as a company to work remotely. The fire with Purposeful Harbinger notable burned stronger in the background, with us unaware of how just broken things has become. Once we realized what was going on and that this passive skill had become one of the most unintentionally and counterintuitively powerful mechanics to ever exist in PoE, that's false. This here, the most powerful mechanic to ever exist in Path of Exile, this here is one of the most. Never mind, I can't read. Okay, that's that. I'll take it back. They're right. One of the most. Okay, that's true. But there's a few things that were even more broken than that. We realized that there was no option but to fix it. We also knew that this was going to cause a lot of upset. As soon as we made the decision to fix the functionality, we announced it to give people as much notice as possible. However, this did not mitigate the time and currency that people had invested into playing this build based on our previous comment. We made a series of errors that caused many players to waste valuable game hours at a time in the world when people most need distraction. Purposeful Harbinger should not have been released in its initial form. That is very true. When it became popular, we should have taken time to investigate it more thoroughly. At minimum, when we were questioned about the build's ongoing potential, we should have taken a pause to reflect as a team about this rather than giving our default response no mid-league nerf. In turn, this would have prevented us from wrongly confirming that it would not be nerfed and would have prevented people from investing in the build. This won't happen again. We are sorry for people's loss of time, currency, and faith. Thanks for the host, Jelly. online games are supposed to be a place where you can enjoy yourself and be distracted from the woes of the real world, and in this instance we have failed to provide that for some people. That really sucks. Since the announcement, we have had many discussions about what went wrong for us internally and how we can do better going forward. Sorry. Okay. I kind of wanted to know more about the insight into how they ended up. Most of all, we need a head, right? We need a head, boys, and we can't get a head until we know who designed it, right? No. Yeah. Makes sense. They fucked up. Some people just can't let other people enjoy a build. Yeah. The funny thing is, Purposeful Harbinger, even after the nerf, is absolutely busted. Like, it still is like stupid good. Even if they were to halve the value with the nerf to 5%, it would still be like absolutely like insanely strong. Damn. Yeah. I mean, it's a decent post of them explaining, or like you know, owning up to the fuck ups. I just wish we had known like a tiny bit more insight into, you know, what went into that. This is also posted on purpose on April the 2nd instead of April the 1st, probably because of April's Fools. Yeah. I wonder what the discussions have been like. And does this mean that every time somebody asks, is X or Y gonna be nerfed because it's too strong, are they gonna spend an extra amount of time looking into it now? That's interesting. They're discussing on who to whip, yeah. Nothing is gonna change. Nothing's ever gonna be played listed. There's POE has a very unique issue, or like a problem that isn't a thing in most games, and that is the sheer amount of shit you have in the game. It's like practically impossible to test everything, even if they had one extra month of like one extra month for their league cycle. Obviously, they would also be very much more ambitious with their leagues, so the time investment into like, you know, balance and testing wouldn't probably change much from what it already is. But the amount of stuff they put in the game every 3 months is such a uniquely high number that it's very hard to keep up with it. But we did point out that this is absolutely broken before the league even started. There were like somewhere meme POBs, and there were legit POBs even before the league started on this. But a lot of its power came from something that players didn't know about, and that's like a lot of the effects that are not actually like auras for us, but they were in their code. Like, there was a lot of things that I had no idea that is actually considered aura, because that it doesn't show that to players, right? But, and I wonder that the person who originally came up with the idea with this that it would be fine because we already had a node like this in is it Matua Tupuna or whatever? I don't remember the name. The upgrade version. Yeah, Wakatuki. This one here. So we already had this exact node in an existing item in the game, and it wasn't like breaking the game. You know, it wasn't cutting the game in half because it was so powerful. So maybe the person who came up with the idea, like this is actually getting changed now too. This is going to be changed into increased effect of aura skills. But as a result of this whole thing, this is also going to get changed. But maybe the person who's just like, okay, we got this one, it's going to be fine, right? But this explains now why a lot of builds were taking a lot of damage from stuff that it made no sense. Yeah, like Burning Ground. Yeah, exactly. This shit made your Burning Ground deal more damage to you. And there was like other things too. So, yeah. So it was already a mistake like long time ago when this was in 3.5. And yeah. This is actually crazy. And explained so many things. So my guess is that the person who made that, like, came up with the idea was like, let's just make a bit stronger version of Wakatutugi. Yeah, and even the Mato Tupuna also has it from 10%, and this is from wait, this is like literally. They have had this such a long time. Like this one very weird node. Yeah, this basically been on the game forever. It's point 10. I mean, we don't know for sure if this actually. I don't remember the wording of, because we have had different wording changes to, like, aura effect in the skill tree, like shit like this. This used to be like increased effect of auras. So at some point, this was either split to two different categories, or they simply just forgot about this. That's another case. That's another possibility. They just forgot that this is a thing, which to me would mean that the chance of this kind of shit getting into the game is even less likely. Yeah, I think it was changed. It was changed during Blasphemy. Yeah. But yeah, there's so many things that, like, this whole debacle just like kind of like makes sense now. This also explains in a lot of, like, for some builds that there were not many builds used this, right? But some builds that did use the upgrade and use Solstice Vigil, and if they timed their debuff durations, it wouldn't match to what it was supposed to be because of this. Yeah, it's very interesting because, yeah, I don't know. I wonder if this is gonna lead to them making sure that whenever they add a modifier, that they make sure that, yeah, that works like it's supposed to. We've had a similar thing earlier as well, except this was just like a wording issue. So capture Queen of the Great Tangle with the 50% increased recovery rate of life and energy shield if you stop taking damage over time recently. Originally, when this came out, this was actually increased recovery of life and energy shield. Now, the difference between recovery and recovery rate is that rate is something that has duration, and recovery is anything, including life, ES, mana gain on block, life gain on hit. And I tested this because I had a max block necro, and I was like, the 50% increased like amount of life from my blocks is like absolutely disgusting. And then I had a Sybil's bar for the life gain on hit from spells. I was like, dude, this is fucking insane. And then when I tested it, it didn't work. And I was just like, well, first of all, I did some research. This was like literally the only place ever that had recovery and not recovery rate. So I made just a forum post for bug that it's not working as intended. And apparently it was working as intended. The warning was just incorrect. And the next, literally, like, you know, if there was like a patch a few days later, and it was like literally fixed there. But yeah, this is quite the interesting case, and the effect of this is sadly gonna be that a lot of people are now gonna be extremely paranoid when it comes to playing something that is incredibly powerful, because they fear that this might happen again. But the difference here, and like a lot of people compare this to like the immunity builds, like the Gluttony of Elements, for example. Now the difference between the Gluttony of Elements and this is that Gluttony of Elements setup was working as intended. They just didn't expect people, like, you know, to be able to run it permanently. And this one, it was buffing things that were not supposed to be buffed. So that's the great like difference, and people should keep that in mind in the future, where something that is like absolutely busted broken is it doing something that it isn't supposed to, or is it just that it was a balance issue but it's working as intended? But Herald scaring and stacking and with auras is still absolutely and beyond broken. And this number here will probably go to at least 5%, and even at 5% I think it's too powerful. I think this is gonna go down to like 4% or something like that. That's my guess, is they're gonna nerf this to 4%. Even at 4% value, it's still good. But yeah, we'll have to just wait and see what will happen to this next patch.